Welcome in, everyone, on a Tuesday night at 7 o'clock Eastern Time, our standard time for Florida State football talk here on Seminoles Live, number 51. So I know a certain someone here is amped up for number 52, but let's try to give it our best on 51 and not just gear up for the big special number 52.
Well, we had some controversy because last week we thought we were at 51. We thought this was going to be 52. We didn't know there was going to be any math, and then you called that, hey, the last week was 50.
Exactly. The math is difficult, Jason. I'm trying to keep track of what number for Miami, what number for Florida State, Ohio State, now in Notre Dame.
I had to move my Tux rental. I had the baby leopards. I had to move them back a week. There was a lot of things that went into this. I mean,
oh my God.
Folks, let you in on this show number 52 next week. God willing means that Jason will be a perfect 52 for 52. And actually, Jason being a team player, let's think about this. It's more important that the show has made it a full calendar year. And Logan and I are somewhere in the range of 49 or 50 out of 52.
You tell yourself whatever you need to make yourself feel better, okay?
And James Coleman, of course, on the line as well. I'm going to call him around 23 for 52.
I was the original, though.
He was the original. Yes, absolutely. So from top to bottom on your screen, we got Jason Parker from NBC6, Logan Robinson from Knoll Game Day. Please check out their work right there. And, of course, James Coleman, big game James Coleman, fifth quarter college football. How you gentlemen doing tonight?
Living the dream.
Living the dream.
Doing beautiful until I see California.
That person was out there living the dream.
I mean, we get off being grounded next Monday here in South Florida, so congratulations to us. How you guys doing up there in the northern part of Florida? You guys enjoy being free? You guys good up there? Apparently you guys are great. Apparently the audio.
Yes, they're speechless tonight, Jason.
God, guys.
Well, my audio was.
We got personnel to talk about tonight.
That is true. Sorry, my audio was messing up, but I was going to say my night was going good, and then I saw the California thing going on and fall classes going to online, and I'm just waiting for the waterfall effect on everybody, and I'm starting to get very scared. Now it's time to start getting nervous. This is a week of nervousness. A lot of people were expecting this week to happen with some bad news and MLB stuff happening, so it's a week of not fun, it looks like.
We will talk about that in the next half hour because the ACC is – depending on which team you're talking to, who knows?
I mean,
yeah.
James, how are you in Jacksonville?
I mean, Washington is he's counting on football in 2021 at least. He's a pretty good defensive back out of Texas, a really good one, according to 247 Sports, 16th rated cornerback in the country. James, we'll start with you in regards to any thoughts on Hunter Washington coming into the fold. Of course, a position that Florida State is well known for long-term, but it's been a bit of a sore spot recently.
I mean, anytime you get it, I mean, we've been complaining about recruiting, or fan base has been complaining about recruiting for a while. So it's always good to get a pickup. So for that part, it's dope. But he doesn't rush the passer, nor does he protect the passer. So, but I think getting a guy like him definitely can make you better. But we haven't struggled in those areas. So I think, but it is part of the process with Coach Norvell, and you never know what can have the snowball effect. It's better to get one than not, but I'll get more excited when I start to see the defense, the pass rushers. And more notably, like a left tackle would be dope.
I like the fact that he's a bigger back. He's 5'11". He's a 4-star back coming out of Katy, Texas. But I like he's a bigger back, 5'11". He's not the smaller guy. Someone like a Sante Samuel Jr. or someone like that who's a little bit taller. He's got a little bit of size. Can go up against taller receivers that he'll see from the Clemsons, from Miami, from Florida. But I do like the fact that Florida State is going out and getting top recruits. This is something we've talked about in past weeks about 4-stars and 5-stars kind of shading away. This is a 4-star, not from the state of Florida, who decides he wants to come to Florida State. And he was getting quality schools that had offered him. Oklahoma offered him. Texas offered him. The Ohio State University offered him. So there was a lot of schools out there that have had better seasons of late than Florida State, who gave him love, and he still chose Florida State. So I think that's a good pickup for Florida State. But I do agree with James a little bit. I'd like to see them address more of the line issues, more of the front seven on defense, more of the offensive line. But at this point, anyone who wants to come to Tallahassee, come on down.
Facts.
Yeah, and it starts a good trend, maybe some momentum. A lot of fans are kind of starting to get irritated that there hasn't been a commit in a little while, so that might start a momentum for other guys. Michael Trigg is one of them that we're going to keep a close eye on, a tight end that's very well respected, has tons of offers across the country. He'll want to make his decision soon, and y'all are both right. This is not an offensive tackle or a DN. Florida State always brings in highly talented defensive backs, but I think it's key, though, to see that Norvell has gone into Texas. And I think most of this is a big help from Marcus Woodson and his relationship he had before he came to Florida State as he was in Auburn. That connection helped a lot, obviously. And it's good to bring in a nice 4-star, a talented guy over from Texas to Florida State in Tallahassee. So I think hopefully it will start a good momentum going forward and being like, hey, Florida State is still here. I know it's been a quiet couple of months, but hey, we're still here and we need to still get on the road and get recruiting.
Right. It's good to get guys that you normally traditionally get, like obviously like the DBs. Like had we not got him, that would have probably been more alarming or more scarier than getting him. So like you want other stuff, but it's also good to continue to do what you're traditionally good at.
Kyle Pickett, we hope that you're recovering well, resting. Nothing like having surgery. Again, hope you're doing well, Kyle. Getting to recover while watching Mark Rogers and the voice of college football. Thank you so much for joining us, Kyle. You're a faithful one, loyal, even after surgery. Hope you're doing great.
Do we want to send him a muffin basket, fruit basket, something, anything?
If maybe you could take some of your possible gift from next week's appearance that you're anticipating to have happen.
Listen, I know I'm not getting a gift. It's fine. I understand it. It's not that I'm mad, just disappointed. That's it.
It'll be fine. Collins show right next week. I've just been waiting. Next week, it seems like it's going to be that day, and Jason's going to have a lot of friendly fans coming to say what's up to him.
I mean, for our first ever call-in show for one segment or until the brakes fall off of that one, it's going to be fun. Let's see how this
Looking with the call-in show, Jason is thinking no. I love the call-in shows. I do call-in shows all the time. My only consideration was the technical aspect of it, since you guys are in a different location.
I just sense the impending disaster that's going to come from this.
I think we need to dream up our next push-up contest is what we need to do.
Oh,
I think Logan doing push-ups. I mean, damn.
Next time I don't think you two want to get James involved in this, though.
Whoa. I did my chest day today. I had 120 plus 120 plus 120. So we had 240, but they were, of course, segmented.
To get all of us involved, we would have to come up with a big, like a number guess, like who's going to do this, who's going to rush for X number of yards. How many yards is Tamari and Terry going to catch for? But we'd have to wait all the way until the end of the season, and whoever's closest or something like that.
So we're 8.5 minutes and the show's already gone off the rails. We're talking about push-ups, people.
Yeah, usually Jason's the one to take us off the rail. Have we said everything we'd like to say about Hunter Washington?
Stick to your commitment.
I think it's a good commit. Like I said, the momentum, I think, out of this is the biggest thing. And I think you might see some other guys start at least putting – there might be another guy. Like I said, keep an eye on Michael Trigg. He's got a lot of interest in FSU. He was pretty supportive over the commitment today to Florida State from Washington. So that'd be a guy to keep an eye on. Very talented tight end. Florida State needs tight end. Also, we'll talk about the transfer that just came from UCLA too. But building that tight end depth helps a little bit also, as in he's a senior coming in.
We're going to get 3 commitments in the month of May. So that's one down. Trigg is one that I actually Washington, I'm not going to lie to you. I've seen some of his film. DB is DB. You want a ball hawk and yards with that, but Trigg's film is definitely sexy. I actually like his basketball highlights more than I like his football highlights. The way he attacks the rim and dunks is very aggressive. I want that kind. I need that kind of attitude because we had a I'm gonna get y'all in some of my weekend. I'm sorry, Jason, to take this from me, but we had about 50 guys, 50 old heads on a Zoom conference call, and a lot of measuring, a lot of old war stories, a lot of lies being told by some Seminole greats. And the one thing we were just saying is, man, there's some guys who just absolutely lack killer instinct and mentality. And this kid looks like no offense to like Pop, Nate, who was a tight end from it's different to talk about punching you in the mouth and wanting to like kind of fist fight than it is for somebody who can not only possibly fist fight, but is willing to punch you in the mouth on the field. This kid looks like he might be that.
Yeah, I was going to say too, I agree with how he is physically and against other players too. You haven't probably had that since you've had a lot of prissy tight ends the last couple of years at FSU. Sorry, but the toughest one that we've probably had here, I mean, it's sad to say, it was probably Nick O'Leary. He's going to beat the living blank out of you if you're in his way, and he doesn't need gloves to wear. He doesn't need to look pretty. He's just going to toss you around, and he's going to be ugly and just do nasty things to you, and that's what you'd like to see. So that's probably what James is kind of feeling there.
James, I have a quick question for you real quick. Now, Washington said he has not visited Tallahassee. He has not visited FSU. He hasn't been on campus, but he's still committed to Florida State. How surprising is it for you to see him commit in this kind of, in this pandemic right now where people aren't traveling anywhere, people can't, FSU can't recruit the way they would have normally recruited during the spring, during the summertime? How are you not buying that he's going to stay committed? Like, what do you think is going to play out here?
No, I think it's called holding your spot. It's ironic though, because Coach Norvell was on a reputable, one of the reputables, and he said that they're holding off commitments. They won't take a commitment from anybody who hasn't visited, which kind of shocking if that were the case, that Mike said that a few days ago, and then boom, we have a 4-star, which leads me to believe that if you good and you want to commit to Florida State, we're going to take you. Whether you picked up the phone and we never recruited you, or whether we've been courting you like everybody else. But it's not shocking. It's a lot of stuff that you can kind of come with and find out later on. I mean, I asked my buddy Brian Johnson, who's a strength and conditioning coach at the University of Arizona. He used to coach at Florida State. It was when Jimbo was really making a big fuss about facilities when he was on his way to Texas A&M. And that's where Brian was. And I was like, hey, describe to me what the facilities at Texas A&M look like. What am I missing? And he played Division I football at LSU. And he made a very pointed statement. He's like, once you've seen like a facility, like facilities are facilities. You're really there to play ball, and you can get to know all the other stuff. It's really about the relationships, and this says a lot about what Norvell's done to make up for his little bit of time there in the corona. Like, this shows that Coach Woodson was really putting in the work to develop that rapport. It shows that Mike Norvell and the rest of the staff who kind of helped make this young man's mind, that they bought into the person, into the coaches, and everything else will just either solidify, and it may shake them a little bit. I always tell kids, take your 5 visits. But the reality is, the more ain't like FAMU's campus. No offense to my HBCU that I love, but the more ain't bad. We will have a football-only facility probably by the time that kid graduates. The indoor practice facility ain't bad. Are you going to win games? Are you a dog? Do you believe in what Mike Norvell's selling? And I think these are the things that they have to hype. And do you believe that you can be the next great DB from Florida State? Because no matter what, when you look at Florida State position for position, there's only a couple schools that can rival it. I'll give Miami their props. Position for position, Miami can rival Florida State and edges it out at tight end. But very few outside of Ohio State in recent years can really say that they've had all the greats that we've had. I think Mike's just doing a better job of selling.
Yeah, I got to think facilities are like buying a new home, that certainly you want a nice house and you'd love the facilities, and they knock the socks off of any recruit. But a couple of years down the line, you're a little bit more concerned about who's living with you in your house or living with you in the locker room, and who's the brotherhood rather than the nice facilities. They kind of wear off and you get used to seeing them, as long as you've got the facilities that you need to win and compete. And Kyle letting us know, of course, and reminding everyone that November is coming. November's coming. The vice presidential campaign is, of course, has been underway for quite some time. It's Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. I bring these guys on. James smiles, but this is Kyle's doing here, James. He's got me running for VP in 2020, so I think it's a slight pay raise for me. And we got a couple super chat contributions. We'll get to those as well. We appreciate it. Jason.
Don't worry, James. We're not voting for him. Don't worry. We'll talk about those policies. Logan may vote for him. I'm not voting for him. I love you, Mark, but it's not going to happen. But,
I'd also like to announce, I'm ignoring that comment. Also like to announce that while we've got 53 on the live stream here, we have 2 on the line on Facebook. It's our inaugural Facebook Live on Mark Rogers TV. And I didn't announce anything. I just threw it up there today. So there it is. And maybe we'll get a little bit more traffic on Facebook as well.
Mazel tov.
I've got it pulled up right here. I'm
sharing it.
I think we're down to 1 as soon as I said that. All right. Jordan Wilson's a tight end at UCLA. He caught 2 touchdowns as a freshman. Hasn't found the end zone since, but he did have let's see. He's got a handful of passes here for 3 years, and he's going to add to the tight end depth with 25 receptions in 3 years at UCLA, Logan.
Mm-hmm. One thing about
we're going to let him.
Logan,
I'm nice and relaxed today. I feel like I don't know what it is, but I feel
Logan,
nice.
Logan, you're a tight end expert here. Now, is he a prissy tight end? Like,
I'm gonna start getting in trouble. I think he's a motivated tight end. I think it helps build depth. Obviously, Cam McDonald is probably your solidified starter in a lot of ways, but obviously, I think this is a good thing for Florida State. You build depth. Carter Boatwright is still a youngin'. He comes in as a true freshman this season. So Wilson has had a little bit of experience on the West Coast over there. He doesn't have a little. He's got a good amount, but the stats aren't too excellent, and they're not too poor. So you're bringing in a guy that has played. If you can learn the playbook, get it down under Dillingham and their offense, things should be moving smoothly. But that depth did need to add on because you were bringing Wyatt Rector, who was a quarterback. You were bringing him down to kind of fill depth there in the first place during the start of spring. So bringing Wilson in only helps build it some more. And it's a good grab, and from a school like UCLA, I mean, it looks a little bit better when it's announced on Twitter.
Yeah, it's all about depth. Logan hit the nail on the head right there. Especially when you lose Trey McKitty, how he transferred to Georgia. So now you've replaced him with a guy who's from Nashville, so he's moving closer to home. A little bit closer to home to Tallahassee as opposed to being out in LA. I just think he finally was tired of playing for arguably one of the most overrated coaching hires in Chip Kelly. I mean, the man went. Let's take a look at UCLA's record. The last 2 seasons are 3-9 and 4-8. So I feel like he finally wants to go to a power winning program like Florida State as opposed to some prissy baby blue and gold team out in LA.
I mean,
prissy. Prissy is our word today here.
He's stealing my words.
If he can block and catch, or actually just catch, then he's upgrade. So I mean, it just really depends on what Dilly and Coach Norvell can dial up. But I am on the Wyatt Rector train. I have drank the Kool-Aid. A lot of people don't. People are like, oh, he's a quarterback. Can he block? Has he done this? FSU has done this before. When I played, we had a guy by the name of Matt, from the Tennessee area too. Like the UCLA guy, but Wyatt's Wyatt's got a little country in him. But we had a guy, Matt Henshaw, who was a highly regarded quarterback coming out of high school, and went over to tight end. And during the time when we had a lack of depth, we had, I want to say, Paul Irons and we had Donnie Carter were the only guys that we had. Matt came over, and then we had a guy who transferred in from Notre Dame, Matt Root, came over. So kind of a similar situation. But, we'll see what goes in. At the end of the day, it's a big difference when you got to put your hand on the ground and you got to bully people. So, those defensive ends are a little bit bigger nowadays than they were even when I played.
James just said names from when James and I were in school that I haven't heard in over a decade. I haven't heard the name Paul Irons in over a decade.
I just seen Paul. That was the only reason that
made me feel really old for a second. Thank you. Appreciate it.
They weren't bad. Both of them made an NFL roster. So
Matt Henshaw was great. Obviously, his dad was, I believe, he coached with with Bowden in the early part of the FSU. Bowden's first couple seasons.
He was also an analyst last year.
George? No, but I'm saying his father, George Henshaw.
Yeah, George. I'm saying George Henshaw they brought him on as an offensive analyst.
Okay.
With Tag. Didn't understand it, but they did.
That would have been an interesting conversation right there.
We're up to 14 live viewers on Facebook, 65 here. And we got James Ming still just made a comment.
And we
On the live chat, he says that to quote him, let's go back to the quote. He wants you guys to talk about, let's talk about how badass our defensive line is going to be. James had mentioned the DN position.
Our defensive line is going to be badass.
Like, about as clear as it needs to be, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean,
Marvin Wilson, enough said. There we go.
That's pretty much all I got to say. There's a lot of hype going into him, but obviously, man, I mean, look at who was a Louisville offensive lineman that got drafted with number 14th overall.
Yeah.
Got slung. This slung a little bit. There's just something about Marvin Wilson. You don't think he's the most biggest guy or whatever, but he's always quicker than most of them, but he's got strength with them that, I mean, I don't look at his bottom half as big as I think about his upper body. But if he's slinging cats like that, it's not even fair. But Corey Durden, and then also Robert Cooper. You also brought him some more depth over the offseason, the transfer. And you still have some young cats, too, that have a lot of potential, too. But that defensive line should be disgusting. I mean, it should be one of the top 10 in the country heading into this season.
Yeah, it just all depends. It's all about the defensive ends, though. The defense, like you see, Marvin creates a lot of havoc, but even in the highlights that I see of him, he's moving in space, and what happens is, as an offensive guy, that creates gaps that we love. Because if you've got a back with vision or a quarterback with vision, you step up, anytime you jump out of the gap, you create a larger hole. But if Robert Cooper takes that next step, if Corey Durden takes that next step, and let's say you get a Malcolm Ray, who's my guy from the Grayson kid, got a lot of stuff. He's a tackle.
There's Briggs. Who else am I thinking?
It's not Briggs.
Chapman? Nah.
Anyways, you got to find a fourth guy. So you got to have a two-man rotation. So that two deep, that's good. But really, Robinson and Kendo got to barbecue or get off the pot. Robinson was doing a little bit more. Kendo has that injury thing. But you got to find some kind of defensive ends. And with a severe lack of really recruiting an elite guy in the last few classes, it really puts you behind. But the way to be able to kind of circumvent that and get better is if you have guys like Amari Gaynor, Kalen DeLoach, some of your linebackers being able to come off the edge, and at least these guys be able to plug up. Will we have the best interior D lineman in the nation? 100%, I believe so. As across the board, as a unit, I can't say that unless Coach JP really is a miracle worker at developing DNs.
Yeah, those defensive ends got to. I mean, Janarius Robinson, he wasn't really going to go anywhere anyways. But I'm glad he comes back. He has so much potential. He's always had the size since high school. I went against him, not directly, but he's always had size. It just during high school, his coaching took a little bit more while to listen. And if he can be developed well and have a good, strong senior season, he might have a chance to go play on Sundays. He's a huge guy, but the consistency isn't there as much. And with Kendo, like James said, the injury thing is it's every season it feels like. Obviously, this last season was terrible luck, but supposedly his rehab has gone very well. And you'd like to see him show out because he came in as a 5-star coming from IMG. Jimbo Fisher fought hard to get him, and it's just his inconsistency with injuries, and we don't really get to see him all the way through a season without him having to sit out.
So I'm guessing we've got quite a people on the line on Facebook that have never seen us before. We were up to 17. We got 14 live right now. This is Florida State Seminoles Live. We come your way each and every week, typically on a Tuesday night at 7 o'clock Eastern Time with Jason Parker from NBC6, Logan Robinson from Knoll at Game Day. Big game, James Coleman played fullback for Florida State from 2002 through 2005. You can catch him on Fifth Quarter College Football. I'm merely Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, but I do produce content each and every day right here. And good showing out of some folks. We're up to 19 Facebook Live, 81 right here, and we've got a super chat. Yes, that's why I posted it, Jason. BGPO Football Funk. Thanks for the contribution. That's DeAndre. Thank you so much.
I want to answer it.
Is Florida State a rivalry? Yes, that's why I posted it on the screen, Jason. We will get to it. This is called a bit of a reset. Just want to let everyone know who we are, especially since we've got folks on Facebook that I guarantee have never seen us before. So just want to let them know who we are.
If they don't know, now they know.
Rivalry. Jason, since you're just amped to go at it, take it away.
No, it's not a rivalry. It's not. FSU's rivals are Florida and Miami. Clemson's not a rival. And I'm not just saying that because they beat us 5 years in a row. I would have said that the 3 years before when we beat them. It is not. It's not a rivalry because of where FSU is right now. Right now, we have to get back up to being a top 10 team consistently every single year before the question can come up. That's not true. I did a couple the other day. Moving on. Thank you, Kyle Pickett. But I feel like we have to get better. We have to build ourselves back up to the level of expectations that myself, James, when he played there, Logan, when he grew up watching the Seminoles, that we expect Florida State to be before even the conversation can come to adding up another rival. Right now, it's focusing on it's got to be the small goals. Go at least 8-4 this season, then get 10 wins. Consistently beat Florida and Miami again before we can even think about calling Clemson close to being a rival. No. Stop it. Stop it.
I mean, there's some really good storylines that we've had. I mean, obviously, the Bowden Bowl, I mean, that's cool. But you know, if Tommy played, coached at Georgia Tech and we played them every year, would Georgia Tech be a rival? No, I mean, there's some. Clemson's good. Clemson was the best team before, one of the better teams before we entered the ACC. But outside of that, it's like I do agree with Jason. You got to win for it to be a rivalry. So like you got to give them a game. But even beyond that, maybe some 30, 40 years down the road, we can possibly say it. But we've played Miami in Florida since forever. Like a rivalry is more than just a recent thing. And like, yeah, we may want to beat them, and we may like. I would say it's more of an in-conference rivalry than anything else. Is NC State a rival because we've struggled and they had Chuck Amato and they had other stuff? No. Is Virginia a rival because Virginia beat us? We actually have an actual like trophy or something that we do with Virginia, but that doesn't mean they're a rival. I think we just got to be careful with that. It really looks like we're begging to be relevant when we just want to be. When we want to be rivals with somebody because they're better than us. This isn't the SEC. This is the ACC. We either beat you or we don't. It's no conference pride. Like there's no pride in being a loser.
And we've talked about this before. The reason Miami and Florida State are in two different divisions is because it was initially assumed, hey, these two teams are going to play every year for the ACC championship. It's going to be amazing. If the ACC was smart, they'd put Clemson over in the Coastal Division, have Florida State would have a better chance to win the Atlantic every single season, and they could play in the ACC championship game, and that would help out because we wouldn't have to play Clemson every single year. Get on that, John Spofford. But that's what's keeping Florida State away. Right now, we need to be a consistent team again before we can even think about adding another rival.
Well, I think in the minds of a lot of people, they think, okay, if two teams are in the same division, they're rivals. So some people just have that mindset that, but then if you elevate it to the next level, meaning those are the two best teams in the division. And so from 2012 to 2017, you had Clemson and Florida State, and you had Florida State with the upper hand. They were the better of the two, and they were going to college football playoffs and winning a national championship in 2013, and Clemson was coming up, and they were the up-and-comer, and that was the big game in the conference, and it just happened to be in the division. And then Clemson obviously caught Florida State and surpassed them, but it was still a really good game in 2016 and 17. So it was a rivalry from the standpoint of those were the two best teams in competition for the division and then the ACC, but that doesn't make it a rivalry also in my mind.
James also hit the nail on the head, though, but there also has to be a level of that competition. There's been some close games recently between them, but for the most part, a lot of those games have been blowouts. You talk about during the Bowden Bowl time. I remember when it was a top 10 game in the 2000 season, we beat them 54-7. You know, we beat them 57-0. They've kicked our butts the last 2 seasons, both in Tallahassee and Clemson. So I don't feel like there's been enough competition between the teams. There's been some close games. There's been the overtime game in 2014. But for the most part, it's been a game where there's been decisive winners, and there hasn't really been that competition.
I think geography has something to do with it as well. Oregon kills Oregon State. They've got a huge lead in the series. They will forever probably kill Oregon State. That's been the history, but it's still a rivalry. It's the Civil War. They play in the same state. Ohio State's been killing Michigan for 15 or 16 years, but it's still a great rivalry. Some things will never change, but this was not a rivalry, so it has to become a rivalry.
Yeah, it's going to take more time. Like we lose to Clemson. I'm upset because we lost. And I know, like, even right now, like, Clemson's hot. They're good. They, you know, if we have football, they should win. But if we lose, I'm like, all right, cool. We probably were going to lose. We should have lost. I really think we probably won't beat Florida this year, but it's still going to hurt. Like, because I don't want Florida to be successful at anything in life. Like, I don't want them to be good at swimming, gymnastics, and we don't even have a gymnastics team. I just really want them to lose in every facet of any kind of possible competition. I could be playing flips. I could be playing beer pong or something else. I just want to beat a Gator as bad as possible, and if I can't, it bothers me. And Miami is more like the rivalry between my 2 sons. Like, they're gonna fight for who gets in. One is 2. He ain't even 2 yet, but he's a food bully. He's gonna fight for the last piece of bread just because. And there's times when he's gonna get strong and bigger than him, but they're gonna fight all the time. It was kind of a mutual respect when it comes to the players. But as my mother, who told Ron Zook when he called the house, she said, "There's no reason for you to even like come to my home." Because my son would not go to Florida. I won't step foot in Gainesville. So that's where that rivalry. That's the difference in that rivalry.
SEC Dog has commented a lot. When are you going to do a Georgia chat talking about when they were relevant in 1980 when they actually won a title?
SEC Dog has something out for you, Jason. He's after you constantly.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know if he's a liberal or because I'm Jewish. I don't know if it's red hair. I don't know what his problem with me is. SEC Dog, what is your beef? I love you. I love Georgia when they kick Florida's butt every single year. I respect you.
We're not going to take off on this, Jason, because it has nothing to do with Florida State, but Georgia is relevant. Okay.
Yeah. Will they be relevant this year? Do you believe they'll be relevant? Do you think they win the SEC East this year?
Probably. I'll give them a 75% chance of winning the division. Our guy Redbeard, got to support the cause. Go Noles. Hit that like button. Thank you so much, Redbeard, for the super chat contribution. We appreciate that. You guys know anything about Garner Langlow? He's a prospect offensive tackle out of Trinity Catholic in Florida.
Yes.
John Sarian's asking about him. Do we know anything about him?
We just got an interview with him about 5 minutes ago, and FSU is in his top 2. Auburn's playing hard for him, but he said getting a chance to be a part of the class, Norvell's first class, that gets FSU back getting FSU back is awesome to be a part of. So he really likes Coach Atkins. That's FSU's new offensive line coach. This guy comes from Trinity Catholic. Big boy, 6'7", 270, class of 2021, obviously. And, I think it's between Florida State and Auburn. He's pretty much put that out there to be clear. But he does want to commit he wants to be committed while he's in his senior season. So it's a good sign for FSU, I think.
I guess we've got to put Logan on the payroll to move some of these interviews over here, man. You're reeling in some nice interviews on that thing.
Nah, it's our man Nate. He's over there trying to get as much info as possible and try to stay and get in with these guys because there's pretty much nothing going on right now. So any kind of interviews we can do is the best.
Drinking beers and getting recruits. That's what Logan Robinson does.
I don't do it. I can't do it. They have the recruiting thing is a whole different level. I can't even comprehend and get all the names down and know who lives where and who's 50-50. That's too much. I can't do that. That's why I really let other people do it.
Yep.
Yeah.
I just bring people on to talk about it.
But you know what Logan can do with his time is he can tell you why you should hit the like button.
That is true. I'm actually shocked. We actually have more than 30 likes. We have 43. We have 72 watching, though. We should most certainly have 50 likes. We're starting to.
I'm looking at 93 watching right now, 95 watching.
95. It's probably adding to Facebook. It's adding to also.
Oh, okay. That's what it's doing. Okay. Yeah, we got 23 on Facebook. Okay.
What we have to start doing now, since we're on Facebook, we have to say like, but then also hit the share button on Facebook, because then it spreads to other FSU friends and family that will probably enjoy the show.
I shared it 33 times.
See, exactly. You can share it to groups. You can share it just to your timeline. If you're on Facebook, definitely do that. This is our first night. We already have over 16 people, over 15 people, and then, as usual, our YouTube people. We need to be hitting that like button no matter what. I mean, we a minimum of 50 every stream, and I think we're only like at 45 now. Okay.
So basically, Jason shows up every time, but James and Logan do all the work. They're out there sharing, pushing the show, doing all that.
Yes, correct.
But we got to give Jason the credit, though. He has been the most consistent.
And we all still get paid the same from Mark.
That is true.
Thanks.
When we get a sponsor, we will share in the spoils. How about that?
Shout out.
I will split 93 and 3 and 3. We'll do it that way.
Okay.
No.
Thank you.
Thank
you. Hamburgers, $2.99.
This freaking cat.
Yes, thank you so much. Appreciate that. I don't think I've ever seen that handle in the live chat. Anybody?
That's my brother.
Oh, okay. Beautiful.
Thank you.
Donating to the channel. Thank you so much, man. We appreciate it. Good stuff there. Good stuff. All right. We also wanted to hit on this topic concerning the ACC and their share in this entire conversation that's going on in regards to who's going to be ready to play, what schools, what areas of the country, who's going to make the determining factor, what's it going to be based on, all those things. And again, this is prime territory for Jason. So let's hear what you got.
We posted an article last week on NBCMiami.com basically saying about the ACC, because right now there are 9 teams in the ACC who have said, hey, we have a strategy. This is our plan right now. And then there are 5 teams who are still kind of out there going, we haven't announced anything. Florida State is one of those teams, along with Boston College. And then Wake Forest, Duke, and Pittsburgh are kind of, they haven't confirmed yes or no. They're kind of like, okay, what are we going to do now? And I think everyone, and Logan kind of alluded to it a little bit, how California has now said that they are going to, I believe they are either working on it or they will eventually in the coming days say we're going to go to complete distance learning for the fall semester, and they're going to be on a lockdown for at least another 3 months. And we've talked about this before. There's going to need to be more time for these teams because they didn't have spring football. It's not going to be like they can just come in the start of August, start practicing, and everything's going to be fine. They're going to need additional weeks. Is the NCAA going to allow it? What is the NCAA going to do about money, about all this other stuff? There's so many things that need to still be worked out, and we're almost the middle of May. And using, for example, we talk about the Miami Hurricanes. The Miami Hurricanes can't practice. You can't even practice in parks in Miami-Dade County because things aren't open. We are boring. Sorry, Queen Petitpas. We are. It's fine. Not today, Satan. I'm just going to say to you, Queen.
That's great.
But I mean, it's a fact right now. There's a lot of places that aren't open. Syracuse is in New York. The entire state of New York is essentially shut down for a few more days. There's going to come a point where decisions will not be made, and it's going to come sooner rather than later. And Logan has been the bastion of all is well, positivity, everything is great. Queen and Petit, don't say that about James Coleman. He's the smartest guy in the group when it comes to FSU.
Absolutely.
So let's calm down. But a decision's got to be made, and we talked about it. We said this back in April. Everything's going to be fine.
SEC Dog is sticking up for us, actually, Jason. We'll have to give him props for that.
SEC Dog. But I feel like a decision's got to be made. It's going to have to come probably by June 1st. And if by June 1st things aren't clear or there isn't a kind of a better, things aren't turning up a little bit better, I think there's a decent chance that at least the games in September could be questionable. And I feel like it's a time that we need to get serious about this. And I think everyone's been serious about protecting themselves. But at this point, there's a decent chance we could end up losing at least a couple games.
Yeah. There's been so many. I mean, mainly it's the West Coast going first, obviously, and we know the Southeast football is a big deal, and economically. Let's see, 3 more months in LA County. So then it goes to a domino effect to now where they are going to go ahead and say that fall classes, 23 universities in California are going to go to online fully. So that obviously means that they're not going to have anybody in classrooms. So that cuts off probably, of course, some kind of football, I guess you would say. And so now I've been thinking all along there's going to have to be a postpone. Oregon even too, they said the Oregon governor, the lady said that she wasn't going to have any kind of events or sporting events until after September, and then they're going to look over it again and see how it went or whatever. So, and Oregon, I mean, that first game at home, I believe, is a Ohio State Oregon matchup. So that's humongous. So you're obviously, as a college football fan, you're just hurt in general. So it's going to start. We're going to start getting some real news. I know the MLB has a big week right now, figuring out a lot of things. Obviously, the NBA is trying to figure out what they're going to do. And now the universities, now that the California is doing it, now we'll see if there's going to be a trend. Because if we're doing all fall classes, I mean, and you're going to be online, that's going to go all the way to December. We're going to be back. We're going to be at Christmas, and then we're just going to be back kind of where we were. I mean, I know a lot of this for us in the United States started in March, early March, but that's a whole pretty much year effect of things. I don't know when we'll be able to have 80,000 in a stadium again. I try to stay positive, but it's getting scary now.
Usually, for example, down here, the Dolphins talked about a strategy to where they could be able to play games with less fans, reducing the amount of people that they would be allowed inside the stadium. And we've talked about this. You've heard reports of, they're considering let's play in the winter, let's play them in the spring, in January and February. I mean, Mark, you've lived in Ohio before. Can you imagine playing a series of football games in January and February in Columbus, Ohio, when it's snowing completely? It's not going to happen. I feel like, and FSU is actually in a good position because they play 3 non-conference games and then a bye week in the month of September. If they do end up canceling September games, it wouldn't affect them in the ACC. But there is going to have to come a time where a decision's going to be made. And it's not one of these things where you can decide on June 1st everything's going to be okay in August. One of the things with this disease, and the medical experts have talked about this, you can get this disease, and it's not like chickenpox where if you get it one time, and then you're cured from it, and then you can't get it again. You can get this thing over again. You can fight this thing for months and then eventually pass away from it. This is a disease a virus that it's a serious problem, and it's a serious problem, and it's not going to be an overnight thing. And it's going to be one of these things where if we come to June 1st and our numbers, just using the state of Florida, for example, and we get to this point where things really haven't changed, the numbers are still bad, the death rate is still high, there's going to come a point where we're going to have to seriously consider the idea of not playing football in 2020.
I think they'll consider it, but let's be honest, the most, and this isn't to get political, but the only thing that's more American, the dollar is what matters, especially in the South. You have entire economies that are centered in the South around colleges and things like that. There are schools that have a plan. I've even seen plans to where if hypothetically speaking, the SEC, the ACC, or whatever, if the major conferences that a lot of the schools in the state of Florida are a part of did not participate, where they will have a Florida league. So, I mean, there's been discussions of that. You have the state of Georgia, who now the governor just announced today, where he says that he's going to allow clubs, bars, and event venues to open up at full capacity. Now maybe there will be another setback, but I kind of have a feeling that the numbers will reflect whatever they need it to reflect, and the spin will happen and money will be flowing from the states where it matters the most. We don't have much industry here in the state of Florida, but we have tourism. So I think that's really going to be the big thing, fortunate or unfortunate. I don't necessarily – I agree with Logan, though. I don't think we'll ever see 80,000 in a stadium again. But if you really looked at the trends, that was kind of going away from that anyway, because a lot of these college stadiums and the way that people consume sports is just different. So, like, they're going for bigger seats, a little bit more space. You're going to have to see a new level of cleanliness, more bathrooms, more clean bathrooms, more sterilization, things of that nature. You had some schools were having plans where they were talking about June 1st is when they're going to ask all the athletes to come, maybe even in the middle of May, ask the guys to come back so that they can start getting tested, start training, start getting quarantining themselves, so that they can, so that they'll be ready at a snap of a finger to be able to practice. Arkansas, basically all the SEC ADs have come out and said we will be playing football in the fall. The NCAA did say they that if there are no students in classes, then there won't be any sports played. But I also like to remind people that the NCAA is a suggestion. Schools choose to fall up under the NCAA's rule. They can choose not to if it affects their money, i.e. state of California making the rule saying that players can be paid for their likeness, and they were going to make it go whether they didn't get opportunity to participate in the national championship or not. I also know that our governor here in the state of Florida is really trying to push for Parks and Rec to open back up, and they're really trying to get the Florida Sports Commission to really push people to have events. So it's coming. I'm not here to say if we're prepared for it or not. That's just how I make my living. Part of my living is through running events. And, just practice social distancing and be whatever the best as you can be in. But I would be anything can happen, but I would be very shocked if we didn't have sports. It may not look like we wanted to look, but like we just had an MMA event here in Jacksonville. And it went well. I mean, even the way they handled the guy who had COVID, who tested positive, they were still able to make sure he got swept up, quarantined. Nobody else had it. He got antibodies or whatever it was to help try to attack that. And the event still went well. They're going to plan. They've got an event tomorrow and Saturday, and they're going to continue to grow it. And I think, like I said, I think the numbers will reflect positive, even if it's not really positive.
I'll be. I know you're riding the fence, so I'll be slightly political with it. There's a lot of the governors in the SEC country and in certain other parts of the country who are making decisions. Oh, it's not as bad as we thought it was going to be. Oh, we can start things all over again. And I get it. I understand it. Trust me. I've hated literally being locked in Miami-Dade and Broward County for the last 2 months. I get it. Trust me. I understand it. It was 2 months ago, over 2 months ago, that Florida State was about to win an ACC tournament basketball title, and then the tournament doesn't get played. But you saw what happened there. All it took was one tournament. One tournament stopped playing and canceled their tournament. Then the ACC canceled. Then the Big East, the SEC. And it was just down the line. So the question is going to become, will one of the Power 5 conferences, especially the Pac-12, now that California is going to probably close their doors for the entire fall semester, if they say, hey, we're not going to play football, then what happens if the Big Ten does? If the SEC will be the last one, obviously, because the SEC will say that everything's just going to be fine and peachy. But it's going to come up to a point where if enough teams do it, we may end up just have to cancel the entire season. I don't want it. Trust me. I don't want to be the one to say this. I want Florida State football to happen. I would be more than happy to sit in the press box 6 feet away from the next closest member of the media. If there's no fans in the stands, I get it. It sucks. I understand it. And trust me, that would be a perfect world to see that happen. But we just have to accept right now that if the choice is a Florida State football season, friends and family potentially dying of a virus, it was whatever keeps your friends and family safe at this point. And if Florida State football, Georgia football, Miami football is more important than that, then you need to get your priorities straight.
no one's going to be playing college football anyways. At least Florida State won't. They are not going to play unless there's fans there, because that's what pays the bills. There's just no way some of these universities can do that. It pays too much to get staff in there and clean up the uniforms and do that. That's too much money, and doing food and all that kind of stuff. Pre-game, post-game, during game. That's too much work. That's too much. I mean,
well, the TV pays the bills.
Yeah. TV does too. Of course.
So if they have an empty stadium, yes, they're losing a lot of money, but it's a drop in the bucket compared to the TV contracts.
The TV money and the BCS, the bowl split is what really pays the bills. As to quote AD Coburn, if we were not to have football in the fall, it would be devastating to our budget. We will not recover. Not just Florida State. A lot of schools are in it. Now, partially it's because of their own fault for having too much fat. But what I've always seen is that nobody, we heard the Texas Lieutenant Governor say, who was an old ass man, say that if I have to say, I've lived my life and I'm willing to sacrifice. Like, they don't give a damn about your grandmother. They don't give a damn about me as a diabetic who has a compromised immune system. Or I have a 6-year-old who's got a developing one, an 18-month one who's developing, and a 90-year-old that I take care of. At the end of the day, cash rules everything around me.
Green.
And that's the most American thing. They'll give you a patch and they'll pray for you, and you can do a GoFundMe. That's basically what the people who make money are telling you. This isn't my opinions or my views. It's just how I feel everything's gonna be. We're gonna open it up and pray for the best, and hopefully it won't get pulled back.
My father is turning 71 next month and is going through medical. He's having his medical issues right now. If you're telling me the option is Florida State football or your dad surviving, give me that. I don't have Florida State football. I don't have FSU football. It sucks as an alumni to say that, but it's where we have to be. And
I'm with Mark. I don't think that even if they have to play without fans, I believe the money is just too great.
I just feel like there's going to have to come a decision sooner or later that, yes, the games aren't until September, but it's going to have to come by June 1st. If by June 1st we're still where we are right now on May 12th, I can't see us having the football season at least where it's at right now. A condensed season, maybe, lose a game or two, maybe, but there's going to have to come a point where decisions have to be made, yes or no. Shout out to Raymond Berry. Shout out to Mike Williams, Miami Hurricanes guy, giving us $10. Congratulations.
It's blowing up tonight. This is the most donation we've ever had.
My thanks always goes out to these guys. They provide the analysis. I just sit here and keep track of the live stream and watch it roll. But hopefully you check out my content that rolls out each morning. We looked at SEC dominance this morning, but it's big game James Coleman from Fifth Quarter College Football, Jason Parker, NBC 6, and Logan Robinson from Knoll Game Day. It is 7:57. I will certainly stay on here and talk a little bit more football if you guys would like to, but I think the folks need to know where they can find you guys. So, James, you start us out.
At Big Game James _36 on Instagram and on Twitter. Make sure you check out that pin tweet. I'm doing a contest, free giveaway for the Sports Den, apparel, possibly tailgate tickets if we have a football season, all kinds of things. It's very simple. It's free. Doesn't cost you anything to join. All it costs you to do is click on that link and follow some simple instructions that you already do. My radio shows, the Sports Den. My website and Discord is the Fifth Quarter College Football, where we break news and we have a good time discussing the daily events. All we talk right now, a lot of COVID talk, a lot of talk about recruiting, a lot of talk about some of everything. It's something for everybody. Please check us out and go Noles.
And there it is, Big Game James _36. There you can follow him on Twitter, and you can track him wherever he goes in regards to his podcasts and Fifth Quarter College Football. Again, Big Game James _36. You can catch him right there.
Logan.
Should I go next, Jason? Should I go? Yeah, you're the grand finale. I am at Knoll Game Day on Instagram. On my personal Twitter is at Logan's Twitty. We're starting a streaming series tonight at 10 o'clock. So we're going to stream the 2010 roster. If anybody knows about NCAA 14, if you don't know it, then you're probably crazy. But we're going to be streaming the exact roster into a virtual game, and it'll be on twitch.tv/Nole Game Day. There's Christian Ponder, Chris Thompson, Burt Reed, Greg Reed. So it should be a good time. We're playing 2 games tonight. I believe on the schedule it is LSU. It's actually Pittsburgh and then LSU at home. So and LSU is ranked number 6. So should be a good time tonight. We're going to run through the whole season for 2 weeks, and if it does good, we're going to do a lot more of it. So that's on our Twitch tonight, and then we're at Twitter at the Nole Game Day. So yeah, appreciate everybody. And then our podcast is here, The Spear. We're kind of letting content come in so then we can talk about it. We don't want to just do too many podcasts and not a lot to talk about. So we'll be recording soon there.
Mark, he's talking about a video game. I saw you giving that little hand raise there.
Oh, when he said, if you don't know anything about that or something, and I thought, yeah, I don't know anything about that.
Oh, no, not the streaming. It's a big deal. So Barstool.
Oh, I know it's a big deal.
It's blowing up for Barstool. We started doing it whenever he did, and we built the current roster. But what Barstool and Big Cat and them are doing, I mean, they're having 40,000 people watch just 1 hour game.
I know. Sadly enough, instead of me talking about said game, Ohio State, Oregon matchup, if I just did a simulation of the stupid game, what's funny is there's a channel out there, I won't name it, but they used to post my videos on a regular basis, and well, it's SG1 Sports, and it's no fault of his because he does a great job, and but he does these crazy video simulations like a zillion other channels do out there. And what's funny, and he gets a ton of views. But what's funny is, I cannot sit there and watch a video game, but I'll scroll through just to see what the final score was, because in compared to the actual game on the field, and it's like they're not even close. And I'm like, somebody sat here for like 40 minutes watching a video game in which it had Florida State beating Clemson 52-17, and that's not anywhere close to reality. It amazes me.
We're going to hope this game tonight these 2 games are realistic. We did the overall. I think Christian Ponder is only an 84, so we're going to hope everything's realistic.
Well, I'm not taking away from your experience there, but you're talking about actual people are playing the 2 games.
Yeah, so he's going to have a webcam on him. He's going to be playing it. Yeah, no sim thing. Not like sim. Yeah,
the games. Yeah, I'm talking about like this simulation that you just let roll.
Yeah, I can't get into that either. Unless I'm betting. I think betting, that's what they get into. They're betting money. Like there's actual betting. That's what people that are addicted to real sports gambling, that's what they're doing. They're watching Bleacher Report. You can actually bet on it. No joke.
Okay. Like that couldn't be rigged.
Exactly. I mean, that's what there's probably about 15 channels right now streaming simulated games that are just ran through the NPC, the computer, and they're willing to bet their money on who's going to win that game.
I hope that Nicholas Huertas is still on the line on the live chat, because he is the researcher of the night from the gallery here. He found us that Jordan Wilson, moving from UCLA to Florida State, scored a touchdown in the UCLA game with Josh Rosen at quarterback against Memphis and Mike Norvell in 2017, one of his 2 touchdowns at UCLA against Mike Norvell.
Nicholas, get out of the house.
Oh, it's well done.
Nick is on. Nick is one of the unofficial beat guys.
That's fine.
Yeah, he's one of our boys. He's a rookie. He's grinding. He comes in here and gives info, and then he dips out.
Nicholas, thank you. Get out of the house.
I remember watching that game.
Yeah. Hey, the unofficial beat guys are not too bad, James. I have to say they're not. We get the crap, but hey, they're not too shabby, right?
I'm one of them. I don't.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, it's not too bad around here. We're having a good time.
I love it, man. It's just I like shaking up the apple cart and provide and making other people have to work harder. I think it's always good, man.
I'm chilling. I'm having a good time here.
Before I promote myself, I got to ask James Coleman a question. The garnet jersey behind your left shoulder, was that the one you were wearing when you scored your touchdown against Miami that I got my man crush on James Coleman?
Probably, more than likely, yeah. But it's got the Orange Bowl crest on it when we played Penn State. But yeah, that was my senior year garnet jersey. I guess I could give this out. So you get 2 jerseys unless you rip it. Unless you rip one garnet, one white. At the end of your year, when you play all your years, they give you every jersey that you ever wore. So you get 8 jerseys. I got one garnet, I believe, jersey that's not 36. And if anybody is listening to this and you want to get free gear, the first person that inboxes me at Big Game James _36 and tell me what was my number my freshman year, I'll shoot you either an Odell T-shirt, MFTK shirt, or whatever you want. But that's some hellified Florida State fandom if you can go do that and research. But they give you, like, you get your jersey at the end of the year from the bowl game. You take it home. But when you're done playing, they ship you everything and your helmet. And one of them, you only get 2 helmets unless you break them. You get 2 game helmets and a practice helmet, and you do not have access to your game helmets until the team manager puts your game helmet in the locker. So I say that to say this: there was a noted FSU great who dressed up in a full uniform for a game he was supposed to be suspended for. I'm just letting you guys know it's impossible for him to have even got access to his helmet or his shoulder pads if somebody didn't put it in there, if he didn't think that was going to be.
Gee, I wonder who you could be talking about.
And there's no way that you could pass through all of those people and nobody tell you to stop. But again, if nothing else, our practice helmets, even if you're not playing in the game, your practice helmet is in the locker, and your practice helmet doesn't have spears or tomahawks on it. Just free game, free insight there on FSU.
That is some really good stuff. That is some really good insight. We could probably have a larger discussion about this. I don't know when you guys need to go, because I think this is a great question from John Shields concerning comparing the rosters at Florida State and Miami. We know that both teams went 6-6 in the regular season last year. They play in the same conference. We know that the rosters are underachieving, but they're both roughly top 15 to 20 rosters in the nation. So it's a valid question to try to compare the talent on the 2 rosters.
If you're going to look and compare what's lost, what's coming back, what's transferred in, I think FSU, you could say this is just being the homer. I would give FSU just, I'll say it's a push right now. I'm going to say it's a push right now because I think Miami lost some decent talent, both on the defensive side of the ball. They lost DJ Dallas, who was their star running back before he got hurt in the FIU game. As far as FSU lost Cam Akers, which is right now a player who can't be replaced at this moment. But other than that, they really didn't lose a lot of guys. And they've gotten a few guys who transferred in. They've lost more guys, I would say, towards transferring than they lost to the NFL. So, but I think right now that goes back to what we talked about, not having spring. It's hard to say who's better right now, who has the better roster, because we don't know about D.R. King. He had, I believe it was like 2 practices down in Coral Gables. We don't know about Wyatt Rector tight end, just using him as an example. So I feel like that's another thing where we've talked about we're not going to know this stuff until we actually get back out on the field. You can't really judge off of one spring. But if you're going to say between the 2, I'd say right now, you know what, just be a homer, slide edge to FSU.
I'm going to do my homework before I say anything stupid.
Why? Why do different from normal, Logan?
I'm going to do my homework. That's why I've learned in school. That's why I'm in school. I'm learning that I need to do my research and write down my notes before I say anything stupid. But, I mean,
it's 2 choices, Chief.
I think, the roster? We're not talking about the staff?
Roster. Like, who right now, if it's roster versus roster, what's on entering the 2020 season right now?
51. Florida State. I'm looking straight off defense too. You've got an experienced quarterback coming back. No, there's been mistakes, but he goes back to pro style. You've got a quarterback. I know King is going to be the savior of them all down there in Miami. And I think you have talented guys in that running back, in that backfield. But I like the wide receiver unit too much. I think the offense actually has a lot of potential, and I like Dillingham. I think he's a young, very creative, and very smart coach that is going to be a head coach one day. I think that there will be. I think Florida State has an edge over Miami, and I like Florida State's defensive line. I think if it is coached correctly, which I think we should talk about one week, if it's coached correctly, Florida State's defense should be disgusting. It should be one of the best in the country if they're put in the right spots and the defensive backs are playing their guys well. There's just too much talent. So I think Florida State, if we just keep on looking back at what Willie Taggart did, Jason, man, a lot of talent was utilized in the wrong department. And sure, you might see Stanford Samuels actually get a gig with the Packers. You never know.
It was almost like that horrible talent in the 2017 season, the first 11, 5 and 6, right?
I think, like I said, bad coaching there, bad coaching here.
If I'm to, again, like what Logan said, if I'm to believe that it was coaching, then FSU should be exponentially better. There is no low. There is no buy-in period. It should all connect if that were truly the case. But when I look at it line by line, defensive ends, Miami's better. Hands down. They got Quincy Roche. They already had a defensive end that was really, really good. Interior D-line, obviously, we talked about Florida State. Should have a top 10 in the interior. Linebackers are a push because while we have a lot of improving linebackers, they lost two guys in Perriman, and Quarterman and Denzel Perriman.
Yeah, Michael Pinckney. They pretty much lost their starting linebackers. They all came in together.
Yeah, so they've got some young guys. Secondary, I'll give to FSU. So I guess if I really had to say, you pull my arm, I would say FSU's defense possibly could be better. Offensively, offensive line, both are ass. Miami's less. Running backs, push. Wide receivers, FSU. Quarterback. So if the game were played, I would pick FSU, but I wouldn't pick FSU by a lot. It would just be mainly because I believe that Norvell is potentially a better coach than Manny, but Manny also hired a really good offensive coordinator. If he lets that guy do what he's supposed to do, he'll be good. But the problem is it's up-tempo spread, and what I think people don't understand is when you shift to an up-tempo spread offense, your defense automatically suffers because now they're going to be on the field more than they used to. And unless you've got a Rondé like LSU has, you're going to find yourself struggling.
The problem is there's also a lot of delusion with what's going on with the Miami fan base. And this is my make fun of Miami portion of the broadcast here. There's a lot of delusion in the fact that when they got D'Eriq King, when he transferred, when they got Brett Lashley as our offensive coordinator, their mindset with a lot of Miami fans is, oh my God, we're gonna go 11-1, we're gonna go 12-0, at the worst 10-2, we're gonna win the ACC Coastal, we're gonna. There's a lot who legitimately think that they will beat Clemson in the ACC championship. There's a decent amount of the Miami fan base that thinks Miami is that good. Miami has an easier schedule than they did in past seasons. The problem is that they will still Miami, and trust me, we have Florida State. We Florida Stated against Wake Forest last year. We Florida Stated against Boise State. We Florida Stated against Virginia. 3 games we should have won that we ended up choking and we ended up losing. Until Miami cannot Miami in a game, and by that I'm talking about the Georgia Tech game, the FIU game, the Duke game, the Louisiana Tech game, Miami cannot say that they are the Miami of old. But there's a decent amount of Miami fans that are still living in 2001. They're still living in 2000. They're still living in the early 90s who still think that Miami is one player away. If you think D'Eriq King is the one thing that kept you from being a 6-6 team to an 11-1 team, you are the most delusional fan base in all of college football.
Yeah, I was questioned about this the other night because our Miami contributor, Cam Underwood from State of the U, said he got all mad at me, and he said that in a joking way. When I picked Miami to go 8-4, he thought I was crazy last year. And I said, yeah, if I line up Miami against its opponents going back to 2019, I say, wow, Miami, Florida State, toss-up. Florida's better than Miami, but not by much, and that game went down to the wire. Well, so Miami's only better than there are only 2 opponents on Miami's roster that are as good or better than them in terms of talent on the roster. So they should go 10-2, 11-1. But all those teams on Miami's schedule, the Virginias, the Pitts, the Dukes, on down the line, all those teams that have a 25 to 30% chance of beating Miami, that collection of teams, about 3 of them will find a way to beat Miami, even though they shouldn't. And my 8-4 was actually an overestimation of Miami.
There's no reason that Miami should have lost to Georgia Tech last season. There's no reason Miami should have lost to FIU. You could argue there was no reason Miami should have lost to Duke. Just like, and I'll say this, there's no reason Florida State should have lost to Wake Forest. There's no reason Florida State should have lost to Boise State after having that big lead. So for Miami fans who want to holler in the chat right now, Florida State did the same thing last season. The difference is we're owning up to it. Florida State sucked last season. Florida State sucked in 2018. Florida State sucked in 2017. Miami still thinks that they are legitimately one of the top 10 programs in college football. They're not. They haven't been that way since 2013 when they were undefeated, came to Tallahassee, got their butts whooped by the best team in college football history, and then got sent back and lost their next 3 games after that. Miami needs to not Miami. Okay? If Miami can go through the first 4 games, and after that Michigan State game be 4-0, I will say Miami is starting to turn things around. But the question is going to be, which game will they Miami? Is it going to be UAB on a Thursday night? Is it going to be the opener against Temple? Will it be that road game against Michigan State? Miami is a better team on roster-wise than all 3 of those teams, but there's a decent chance Miami will lose at least one of those first 4 games, and people will automatically go from, oh, is this Miami's year, to, okay, Miami just Miami. And that's the biggest problem.
Well,
Good
can you tell
stuff, these guys.
Can you tell that Jason lives around a lot of Miami Hurricanes down there? You just kind of snapped off there. It seems like you had to get some things off your chest.
You hear a lot of it because, and I work with a lot of both Miami Hurricane graduates and Miami Hurricane fans. Yes, you won 27-10, and then you lost 3 of your next 4 games. So calm down, Lulu Wolf. You lost to FIU. You'll never be able to live that one down.
Well, when it's calm down, let's understand trash talking's about who got the job done on the field. Like,
they beat us.
Yeah, exactly. And so I mean, they're always going to be able to just say, boom, until you beat them again. Right. The Miami fan's going to say, hey, we beat you on the field.
No, Mark, that's not how it works, Mark. I'm going to tell you the reason why that's not how it works. We beat Miami 7 years in a row. And every year I heard from every Miami fan, that was luck. Y'all suck. Y'all do this. It is
yeah, people can say whatever they want. I'm just saying you got bragging rights. You can say you won the game.
But the sad part is, and what sucks, is that they beat us. Because this is what hurts my feelings, is that like the Miami teams that I lost to went on to typically achieve really good things. Like the 2002 Miami team that we should have beat, missed a kick, but whatever. They went to the national championship, and they should have won the national championship. I think Ohio State robbed them, but whatever. You don't leave it to the refs. 2003, we played them again. We were a 10-win team. I think they were an 11-win team. We lost to them in 2004
in overtime.
And I forgot what happened, but it wasn't a bad. They didn't do bad.
That was the Frank Gore shot overtime.
Yeah. So, but like when you beat us and it's 27-10, and you're bragging, you're pounding your chest. One of the worst teams in Florida State history. It doesn't matter. You still beat us, but then you turn around and you lose to FIU and you lose to Louisiana Tech. To me, that is so disrespectful because like you're better than that. Like you literally now I have to wake up and wonder, what's that team that I play that I love? Are they not any better than FIU or Louisiana Tech, or is it you really just wake up in the morning and you only have one thing? And I've been there before. You have one idea of who you want to beat, and then you forget about the rest of the year because, man, you had it all. But then again, I wouldn't want to get my ass whooped by Clemson either if I didn't have. We have to play Clemson every year. But if I remember the last time I went to the ACC championship and I had to kick a field goal with a few minutes left just so I didn't get blanked, I probably wouldn't play Clemson either. I think it was like 88-3 the last 2 times they played Clemson.
James,
yeah, 58-0, 38-3. Yep.
I wouldn't want that behind whooping either, so I get it. I would lose to Louisiana Tech, FIU, Duke, some of everybody else as well to prevent that. So I'm not mad at it.
James hit the nail on the head. The 2000 season, Miami comes up to Tallahassee, beats us, finishes the season 5-7. That's disrespectful that we lost to a team that ended up with a losing record. But to answer what Logan said, it's literally every single, you listen to sports radio down here on WQAM, all the stations down here, and there's a lot of how should I say this nicely? You can tell people who actually went to the school and people who are just fans. And I'm not saying that to pick on anyone, because there's a lot of FSU fans who've never been to FSU, never attended class, so it's not that. Miami is a different animal because there's a lot of fans who are still stuck in the 80s, stuck in the 90s, stuck in the early 2000s. I grew up at a time as a Florida State fan, son of Florida State graduates, when we were the dynasty. I went to FSU when we weren't the dynasty. We were still a good program. We won 3 ACC titles in my 4 years, but we weren't the dynasty era that we were in the late 80s and the 1990s. There's owning it. Are we in a rebuilding mode now? Yes. Does it suck to say that my alma mater is in a rebuilding mode? Absolutely, but I've got to own it. Miami fans legitimately believe that they are one player away. The De'Aaron King is going to be the difference. If you believe De'Aaron King is going to be the difference, meanwhile, you've lost DJ Dallas at running back. You've lost Shaq Quarterman, who I think was one of the better linebackers in college football. You lost Mike Pinckney. You lost all these guys who got drafted, who left to go to the NFL. And you really think that one player is going to be the difference between a 6-6 record in the regular season and an 11-1 record? If you legitimately believe that, if there's a difference between being a fan, if you're just a diehard Miami fan, you want to believe that, fine, I get that. But if you legitimately believe that, you are delusional. You are living in a time 2 decades ago, 2.5 decades ago, and you need to get into 2020. That's all I'm going to say. And your coach went to FSU. Just always remember, you're being coached by Seminoles.
He was a videographer. He wasn't a. I just want to make sure people.
No, but he graduated
from a video guy.
Your
no,
coach
people do that. Right? He was.
Right. Your coach is a Seminole. There's YouTube videos of him talking about how much he loves FSU. Yeah, I get it. He may have grown up a Miami fan, grew up going to games in the Orange Bowl. Remember, your coach is a Seminole.
And real quick, the biggest news of the week: Tamiron Terry is going from number 15 to number 5.
Broken by Noel Game Day. Noel Game Day bringing the news on that one.
No, he was thinking about it. I had to hit his line and say, "What's up? What are we doing? I got to get an edit ready for you." The real chance are we going to see white numbers because they just did a photo shoot. I don't know what they're doing. Sometimes they'll do recruiting photos and they'll wear visors so they don't know who they are. They did it with J-Rob, but they're going to be white numbers or not. If not, I think Florida State fans won't care if there's a football season no matter what. I think they'll boycott.
That's the important stuff, is what color the numbers are.
That's all that matters right now. Sadly, that's what gets the most engagement. That's sadly what
I know. You and Sharif knockout with your campaign.
Whoa. No. It's good to see different designs and some fun stuff.
Shout out also.
There it is, folks.
Show
number 51's in the books. Logan Robinson from Noel Game Day. Please join him right there. Big James game. Woo, yeah. Big game, James Coleman. Hey, that's a lot of J's and G's, and I'm going to mess it up at some point. I've probably spit that out a good couple hundred times in my life, and that's the first time it's like a wide right for me. Okay, big game, James Coleman from Fifth Quarter College Football. And yes, Jason Parker from NBC6. Will he make it 52 consecutive weeks? Will he?
Oh, yeah, that's right. Call-in show, or can we tell people that they can call next week, Mark?
Call-in show for our anniversary show next Tuesday night at 7 o'clock Eastern Time.
Let's make it happen. Let's do it.
Good vibes, baby.
Call-in show.
We're ready. Call us. Get your phones out. We need to hear your voices. You've been chatting with us. I'd love to hear from Dennis Wilson, who comes after me every time. It'd be good to hear from you, Dennis, next week.
When you call in, we need your name, your location, and what team you actually root for. Like if you, for example, live in Oregon and root for the Florida Gators, which I'm still trying to figure that one out. So that's what we need from you guys. When you call in, name, location, and what team you root for. That's what we need.
Yes, I think this is going to be a good time. I already got my beer ready. I'm ready to roll.
So next week we drink.
Yeah, next week we're drinking.
Can I drop an F-bomb? Yes or no, Mark? If you say no, I won't. But can I? If a caller fights me that way.
You're going to get me kicked off.
So don't.
You're going to kill any revenue from that show at the very least.
Yeah, we'll be on our best behavior, and
No
The
problem.
next time you host by yourself, Jason, have at it.
Oh my! Don't tell him that.
Yeah, I shouldn't. That was
You should have
that was
never
a
said
bad
that.
call on my part.
We're going to act like that didn't happen.
All right. We'll see everybody next week. And of course, I've got my call-in show coming up Sunday night at 10 o'clock Eastern time and plenty of college football content each and every day right here at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. James, Jason, Logan, you guys make it happen. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mark.
All right.
There it is.